Hello, my name is Raoul Schaupp. I'm this designer of Grimm World, the open world solo card game. And today I want to a little bit talk about how I came up with this game, a little bit about the history and game design decisions in this game. So how did I came up with the idea of Grimm World? It began early 2020. Uh, I was involved in a solo board gaming Facebook group, and a guy named Horst searches for some people who help him translate a game named Barbarian Winds. Uh, Maybe some of you know this game. He tries to translate it to German, and because in this pandemic times I had not much to do in my evenings, and so I said, okay, I try working with him and other people to translate this game. And therefore I printed this English version and played it, and I liked the idea, wandering around a map and having some random encounters and doing some quests. But during the translation, and we changed a little bit of gameplay elements in the German version. I came more and more up with ideas, thinking this would be improving Barbarian Winds. Yeah. So if you know Grimm World already, you know you have your random events, the same as here for Barbarian Winds. Yeah. And but by Barbarian Winds you have the possibility to encounter the first event and the last one in the first round of the game. So even the hard ones, yeah, are possible in directly at the beginning of the game. It's getting more and more narrow here. So if you work later in the game in the further rounds, you only can encounter the lower, the harder events, and this was okay for me. But in my playthrough, I had a problem. I encountered at the beginning only the hard ones, and even later I only have high dice rolls, which only gives me these hard events. And so I see nearly all events again and again during the playthrough of this deck. And I thought it would be nicer to have this arrow moving from up to down, so you have this line. So at the beginning you only can encounter the easy ones, and as far as you go down to the harder ones. And this is also something I implemented in Grimm World. I also liked wandering around the map, but the map is not evolving or changing during the course of the play. And also the quests are a little bit linear. So if you play it multiple times through this game, you do not encounter much differences here. And there I came up with the idea, also creating such kind of game, taking some mechanics and improve them. This was the idea at the beginning, and the initial setting was a post-apocalyptic setting with a little bit of Fallout theme behind it. This was the first idea. So also we had not these goods here. We had different kind of goods, also wood and metal was the idea. Then some technical parts, yeah, and instead of provision there was also foods or cans with foods, but the foods should be also the money in the game. So you pay with food because food is rare. And you also have, every time you play through your encounter deck, you had to feed your character, and if not you lose life points or hit points. This was more or less the first idea, and as I getting more involved in the game design process, I had ideas with this being good and bad. Yeah, similar is also possible in Fallout, so you can decide to go with different factions there, and yeah, this was the beginning. And then I tried to create a prototype so that I can test different game mechanics. Yeah? And therefore I wanted to create some characters which are not then later in the full game. So I played a little bit around and came up with a name for a character, uh, Red Riding Hoodie instead Red Riding Hood, um, and he has a hoodie on, so red hoodie. And he's a type of guy playing in this post-apocalyptic world. And somehow I like the idea, but I have to say I came not really up with some ideas regarding these random events in a post-apocalyptic world. And this was a little bit a struggle for me. And because I still have this character in mind, this Red Riding Hoodie, I still had this idea why to shift the whole game from the post-apocalyptic world in a fairy tale world. And therefore I had an easier way to get inspiration, because I can take my fairy tale book of Brother Grimm and read some stories there and pick up different parts of this for my encounters, for my storyline, for what else I want. And I had more this medieval setting now. And what I really liked also with this wordplay Red Riding Hoodie was that you can have different views on stuff. Yeah? For example, if you have this Hansel and Gretel fairy tale, for example, if you are a person which runs into this gingerbread house and you see a little girl tries to push an older woman in an oven, which person would you help? Yeah? Would you help the little girl pushing an older woman in an oven, or try to help the older woman? And this was some ideas which I really liked, because you can, based on the point in the story where you came in such a story, you have a different view on the persons, on what happens and who you want to help. And this is something I also wanted to implement in this game. So these twists on the fairy tales, some of the fairy tales, for sure not all, but something, but the view can be different in this game. It can be different based on your alignment of your character, or the moment where you encounter the situation. Yeah? And like you maybe know, in German we say there's always something true in a fairy tale. And I try to read a story and get maybe a twist or a different view out of it and put it in this game. And this was important, and this is something I really liked. If I read through a story saying, okay, I don't know how to use it, then I read through this fairy tale again, and then I have an idea, a funny twist which I can implement. Some are already in this first steps version of Grimm World, and some other ideas are noted in my notebook and will be coming in the big game. So I go to this small or big game. So I designed this concept. I have changed from this post-apocalyptic setting to this fairy tale setting, and in the post-apocalyptic setting I had only this the title was the working title was 8 weeks, because you play through 8 times through this deck and then its game is finished. And you had such a card, I will show you this here in this video, where you go through different weeks and you have to eat something and else. But after changing to the fairy tale setting, it was really interesting for me to came up with the idea to have this fairy tale book as a deck, yeah, where you play through. You have your different chapters, you have your sub-chapters, which are these different cards, which tells you what happens in different regions of the world. Yeah? This is something different which not exists in Barbarian Winds, because you in Barbarian Winds we play on your deck, and during my brainstorming how to involve this game and how to create a branching story, I came up with this. And this is really cool in my opinion, because you have the possibility to manipulate it. Yeah, there are this sub-chapters here which you can encounter, but you have the possibility to add cards in a chapter, to remove cards, to move cards back in some chapters. So this book will change during reading through, or playing through. And based on your decisions and what you do, cards will be removed, you add cards. There will every time changing, and you draw cards. So we're changing from a game which you can play in your palm to this, it's a board game with cards, to say. And another important thing, this is similar here to Barbarian Winds, but also this is this deck simulates the time in your world. You play through it, and after you are through, a next chapter is coming. And every card you remove from this deck, it makes it smaller, and the time runs faster. So much. If I add goods to my inventory card, to my bag, this deck is smaller. It runs through faster because I have to lift heavier running through this world. If I attach items to my character, it makes this deck smaller. There's possibilities to make also this deck larger. Maybe it's explained by if your character trains, and if he can lift more, so he runs faster, so he gains additional cards to this deck. This can happen through events or other stuff. Also, a heavy or a design decision which cost me much thinking about was saving the game, and how to design the game that it is easy to save and load without noting any information on a paper or something else. And therefore we have these character cards and this inventory card, where you can slide these cards underneath, and during saving you staple these cards in a specific way, and you can lay out it later. But this was really hard, how to set up these cards so that this is easy doing. But I think I managed it, and I used it very often. I have a little baby girl, and often I think, now I have time to test my game, to play it. I lay it out. 2 minutes later, my girl is screaming, so I have to put all things together, store it in the shelf, and go to her. And I think this works really good, saving and loading in this game. The only point where you cannot save is during combat, and this was also something which is heavily different from Barbarian Winds, because in Grimm World you have these action cards which have an action and a reaction, and you fought battles on a combat area. You lay them out with cards, and then have your little meeples run around and battle against the different persons and creatures in this world. And this is implemented in Barbarian Winds. It's more or less dice rolling. Did I hit? No. Yes. I take a damage. Enemy is defeated. No. I roll again, or draw again a card. See if I hit. No. Yes. And so on. And I take damage. And this is okay for a palm game. I had fun with it, but I'm more or less a dungeon crawl type of guy. So I like this dungeon fighting, dungeon crawling stuff, and area fighting stuff. If you look up my game design past, I already created 10 years ago a game called Deathmatch. It was more or less Team Fortress, the computer game, as a also such a card game, laying out cards in an arena and have a deck of cards which are used as dice, as weapons, and so on. And I take some elements out of it. I had also some inspiration from Hunter's 802114. So I read the rules for this game a little bit before I started designing the game, and had in mind some action reaction type of thing. So I had only this in mind, never played Hunter's AD till now. But I like this idea, having actions and reactions. I also had played the tabletop game Infinity some years ago, and this is also heavily based on reacting what the enemy does, and therefore I like these concepts, and I wanted to include it in this game. And so you have this more or less epic fights on the card. So if a combat occurs, it zooms in from this map card into this really terrain cards in these locations, and you have to do a fight, dungeon crawler style, or area battle or skirmish battle style, which I really like. But this combat is a whole game in game, yeah, because you nearly not using any stuff from the exploration phase, except of your character and your action cards, but the enemy cards, the hit point cards, and the terrain cards are by themselves. And during playtesting, some of the playtesters love this concept and some not, because they are more interested in the storytelling part of the game. And there's why I came up through shortly before the release of the game with this adventure mode, which you can download. And this is more or less a dice rolling to skip a battle and see what's happening based on the equipment you have and what enemies you battle. This is not perfectly balanced, but it works fine, and I get received positive feedback for this mode, and it's heavily used by some of the players. Yeah. So I drifted a little bit up. I wanted to talk about Grimworld and Grimworld First Steps. So I had this game design idea about this card system for which I use in Grimworld, how to save, how this fairy tale book, also this storybook deck works, and so on. But I had this huge map and this 60 encounter cards and this big story with many branching paths in mind, and told to myself, I don't know if this whole game concept works, and therefore I told to myself I will create a small prototype or demo version for myself to test if it works. And so I started, and it was planned around 50 cards, 24 encounter decks, and some map cards and so on, so that I can go to a small printer and print it for low money. And through working through, I came up with the storybook deck with stuff, the enemies, the alignment deck, and even these cards. So the basic cards which I need to play the game were around 100 cards. So I was completely off this 50 cards for my demo. And then I worked further on a prototype, added story, some quests. I need more quests because that we have some differences during playthrough and so on. And I think I was around 190 cards till the first prototype was finished. And like I said, I was way off, and it was no longer a real demo version. So the first playtester, which also are the guys which I worked with on Barbarian Winds translation, were my first playtester because they liked this game and thought I have something similar to it. And I have to say they also love this game, yeah, because it has the essence of Barbarian Winds and some further mechanics in, especially for replayability. And I receive feedback regarding random events, how to run away or run away in battles and some other stuff. And during the different prototype versions, the cards get added, and then I had some funny ideas. I also added some additional cards and so on, till we reach these 252 cards for the demo version. Yeah? And I have to say, or what also my playtesters say, this is no longer a demo version. This is a own game. Yeah? It has, they told me, it has more gameplay in it, or more game in it, not gameplay, game in it, than other bigger released games. And for me, it's still a demo version to see what can I improve for a bigger one. This is only you move in a smaller region of the map, and you have not this big enemies. Yeah, it's more or less a small adventure game, but you can see much in it. Yeah, in this little game. Yeah, 252 cards, I'd say. This is more or less a demo for the full version, which will hopefully sometimes finished. Yeah, but it's its own game. So I take some stuff in the full game, but you're more or less running around in this small part of the world. You're 12 chapters long in this game. In the full game, you will reach or discover new regions in the second or third chapter. So what you here experience, will you experience in the full game in 2 chapters or maybe 3. This is my idea for the full game. And some parts of the story will also be changed. So if you play this, you will not spoil the full game experience, or not too much, yeah? Because you will live it or experience it later different. But I think if you like this game, you will love the big one, which hopefully there. We have many ideas for the big one, which I came up, or the playtester, or feedback from gamers, which gave me, like fast travel, building houses, maybe marrying, yeah, will be included, and such stuff, and also more branching stories. Yeah. The idea is in the full game that the whole world is moving and changing, and not every time linear. It will be even branching. Even it will branch and evolve if your hero stands still at the beginning of his adventure and will do nothing. The world will change every time you play it a different way. Yeah? And you can go around and change and help that this story will go in this direction or this direction. Yeah? But even if you do stuff, some stuff not, it will evolve. Yeah? This is my vision for the full game. And from the mechanics, it is possible to do this. And what a really important thing in the game design is, and this is something I would say you should know to master this game, is that this has no storyline like other games. So you have this story where your character starts, trains, fight an end boss or something else, and every time you play it, it's more or less the same. Yeah? This game has many small bits, small quests, or different storylines which you can encounter at the same time. Yeah, you can try 4, 5, 6 different ways to reach the end, and you have to do this in this game, because sometimes based on bad card draw, wrong decision, wrong alignment value, yeah, and maybe also because you don't reach a specific point on the map in time, some of the storylines will be close or end earlier. And to reach the end, you must find a way, collecting money, talk with people, getting stuff, or what else. Yeah? There are different ways to get to the end. But all these different ways can close, and during time also new ways appears, yeah, to reach the end. So not all the ways to reach the end are there at the beginning of the game, in the first chapter. Sometimes some ways open even first in the 12th chapter. Yeah? And therefore it's really important to change your strategy. Yeah? So even say you collect money and then you happen to getting robbed by some bandits and you have no money, then try to accumulate again money is maybe not the best strategy, because the time is running out, yeah, in this game. So it's very important to change your strategy every time something happens which you don't think of, and always to have 2 or 3 options open, yeah, helps you to reach and master this game. And this is really important. And if you looking through these cards, there is maybe main storylines are 5, 6, 7, 8 cards, and that's all of 252 cards. Yeah? And you see, they are also all stories are small parts which are together with these random events you encounter, gives you your story of your character. So it will never be the same, even if you try the same run through, yeah, by getting a flying dragon or what else to reach the end. Even if you every time try to get this dragon, you will encounter every time a different story with your character. You have different random events. You manage this in time to reach some locations or not, or some characters react on you differently because maybe your alignment is different, or you have a different check result. Yeah? And if you play my game, and if you get the first expansion, yeah, the first expansion is the Bowyer and the Magical Bow. It's a rumor, so you get information more or less how to create a magical bow. And this expansion consists of 9 cards. 1 card is the title or cover card. You can remove this. The rest are 8 cards. And if you have this expansion after your maybe first or second playthrough of the game, try to encounter this story and see what these 8 cards creates a story for your character. That I personally like, or I have to say, the Bowyer is, in my opinion, the coolest storyline. I really liked it. I came with it. This was the first creation after I finished the game. I gave it to the playtester, and I came up with this expansion, and it more or less fills these empty numbers of your Lost Pages deck, which there are numbers missing. So I filled this with these Bowyer expansion cards, and this is, in my opinion, great how so few cards combined with this encounter system and stuff create your own story. Yeah. So I think I talked enough about the whole concept and how it's created. If you have any questions about game design, about decisions, or feedback, what you like about this game, what you hate, what I maybe should change, or maybe what's a good idea for the full game, yeah, please let me know. Write some information or a posting in the comments of this video, or send me an email. Come to my Facebook group, join me there and give me feedback there, or go to Board Game Geek and write there your ideas, your feedback, what you liked and what I should reduce or remove from the game because you think this is, yeah, not good. Thank you for your attention. Thank you if you play my game or are interested in my game, and I wish you a good day. Goodbye.